Capricorn, if I had to describe June 2026 for you in one sentence, it would be this. The universe is asking you to remember that your needs matter too. And for many Capricorns, that may be one of the hardest lessons of all, because you're often the responsible one, the dependable one, the person who carries the weight, the person who keeps going when everyone else gives up, the person who takes care of obligations before taking care of themselves. You know how to work, you know how to endure, you know how to survive, but June is asking something different, not how much you can carry, but whether you're carrying things that were never yours to hold in the first place. This month places a powerful spotlight on your relationships, because Mercury, Venus, and Jupiter are all activating your 7th house, the house of partnerships, the house of one-on-one connections, the house that asks us what happens when two people try to build something meaningful together. And Capricorn? This energy is not casual, it goes deep. You may find yourself thinking more about relationships than usual, not only romantic relationships, business partnerships, friendships, collaborations, family connections, any relationship where energy is exchanged. And one of the biggest themes emerging this month is balance. The balance between giving and receiving. The balance between supporting others and supporting yourself. The balance between loyalty and self-abandonment. Because sometimes Capricorn becomes so focused on helping others succeed that you forget to ask whether your own needs are being met. And June gently brings that question to the surface. Where have you been overextending yourself? Where have you been carrying responsibilities that belong to someone else? Where have you been sacrificing your own peace to maintain harmony? These questions matter, because healthy relationships require two whole people, not one person carrying everything. Now let's talk about one of the most beautiful moments of the month. June 9th, Venus meets Jupiter. And for Capricorn, this happens directly in your relationship sector. Honestly, this is one of the most supportive relationship transits of the entire year. For some of you, this may bring new love. For others, a beautiful moment in an existing partnership. For others, meaningful support from an important person. The energy feels warm, generous, open. You may feel more connected, more understood, more appreciated, and perhaps most importantly, more willing to let someone truly see you. Because beneath that strong Capricorn exterior, there is a very sensitive heart. A heart that doesn't always reveal itself easily. But June creates opportunities for genuine emotional connection, and those opportunities are worth embracing. Now let's talk about communication. Because Mercury enters Cancer early in the month, and suddenly conversations become deeper, more emotional, more personal. People may ask questions that require honest answers. Topics that have been avoided may finally need attention. And while emotional conversations are not always your favorite thing, they can be incredibly healing, especially when they happen with people you trust. Then, around June 13th, Venus forms a difficult aspect to Chiron, and old wounds may briefly resurface. Past disappointments, relationship insecurities, old conflicts, unresolved feelings. If something painful returns around this time, don't assume you're moving backward. Healing is rarely a straight line. Sometimes the universe shows us an old wound one final time so we can finally release it. And that's exactly what this energy supports. Then, around June 25th, something beautiful happens. Venus connects with Saturn, your ruling planet, and suddenly things feel more stable, more grounded, more secure. Commitments strengthen, trust deepens, relationships become more reliable. This is wonderful energy for building something that lasts, not temporary excitement, real stability. And Capricorn appreciates stability more than most signs. Now let's shift toward career. Because while relationships are taking center stage, professional matters remain important. In fact, June rewards the very thing Capricorns do best: long-term thinking. The Sun's connection to Saturn around June 2nd supports strategic planning, future goals, professional development, financial responsibility. You may receive recognition for work you've already done, or you may simply feel more confident about the direction you're heading. This is not flashy energy. It's solid energy, the kind that creates lasting results. Then, around June 10th, Mercury forms a tense aspect to Saturn, and here we need a little patience. Delays may occur, miscommunications may happen, projects may take longer than expected. If that happens, don't force things. Review the details, adjust the plan, and keep moving forward. Capricorn already understands something many people forget. Progress doesn't have to be fast to be meaningful. Then around June 19th, the atmosphere changes dramatically. Mercury connects with Mars, and suddenly, communication becomes easier. Negotiations gain momentum. Meetings become productive. Decisions become clearer. This is one of the strongest windows of the month for professional conversations, especially if you've been waiting to address something important. Your confidence grows, your clarity improves, and your ability to influence outcomes becomes stronger. Now let's talk about health and well-being, because this month contains an important message. Your body is talking to you. Are you listening? On June 19th, Chiron enters Taurus, and this is a beautiful transit for Capricorn, because it supports healing, recovery, regeneration, and reconnecting with pleasure. Not superficial pleasure, the kind that nourishes your spirit, the kind that reminds you life is meant to be enjoyed, not merely managed. You may feel called toward nature, creative activities, physical well-being, or simple moments of peace. Follow those instincts. Your body knows what it needs. Then, around June 26th, the Sun forms a challenging aspect to Neptune, and this is your reminder not to overextend yourself. Not every problem needs your attention. Not every responsibility belongs to you. Not every request deserves a yes. Protect your energy. Protect your time. Protect your peace. Now let's talk about one of the most important events of the month, the full moon on June 30th, because this full moon happens in your sign. And whenever a full moon occurs in your sign, the spotlight turns toward you, your needs, your identity, your well-being, your truth. Something reaches completion. Something becomes clear. Something asks for your attention. You may suddenly recognize where you're exhausted, where you're carrying too much, where you've been putting everyone else's needs ahead of your own. And the full moon asks a simple but powerful question. What can you release? What can you delegate? What can you stop carrying? Because not every burden deserves to travel with you into the future. Sometimes growth requires letting go, even for Capricorn, especially for Capricorn. Now let's talk about the final days of June. Mercury turns retrograde on June 29th, and because this happens in your partnership sector, old relationship themes may return for review. Old conversations, old agreements, old misunderstandings. This is not necessarily a problem. In fact, it can be helpful. Mercury retrograde often gives us a second chance to understand something more clearly. Use this period to review, reflect, listen, and clarify. Not to rush into major commitments. Not yet. And finally, let's talk about the deeper spiritual lesson of June. Because beneath all the practical events, there is a deeper message. You do not have to earn your worth through sacrifice. You do not have to prove your value by caring more than everyone else. You do not have to exhaust yourself to deserve love, respect, or success. The strongest foundation is not built through endless effort. It's built through balance. And June is teaching you exactly that. If I could summarize this month for Capricorn in one sentence, it would be this. You are learning that true strength is not carrying everything alone. True strength is knowing what to carry and what to finally put down. June begins with relationships. It ends with and somewhere in between, you may discover that caring for yourself is not a distraction from your responsibilities. It's what allows you to fulfill them. Now let's move to Aquarius.